I wasn't happy with the way I was being perceived, and I wasn't happy with my body.
Some people don't want to have sex at all, and that's okay.
Right? So much of the biphobia that I've experienced has been from gay men.
It took me a very long time to get comfortable with myself.
In some ways, where that's coming from is you couldn't possibly desire a woman. Ugh.
Sex wasn't discussed in our family whatsoever, let alone homosexuals.
Hello everyone, I'm Kristin and this is First Person. Today we're going to be talking about bisexuality, which is exciting to me for a couple of reasons. The biggest one being that so many of you said, please give us an episode on bisexuality. So ta-da. And also because the reason so many of you asked is it's a huge issue within queer and non-queer communities alike. And that's the case because for so many people who identify as bisexual, they're being erased. People who are not in queer communities are saying, you can't be bisexual, you have to be either or, you're gay or you're straight. And we're also hearing a lot from within the queer community this same thing. It's really troublesome, and it can be even more troublesome for people perceived as male. So we're gonna sit down today with Vivek Shraya. He is the author of this incredible book called She of the Mountains. It's a bisexual love story, and it really mirrors a lot of Vivek's personal experience. Vivek identifies as bisexual, and we're gonna sit down with him today at the Powerhouse Arena, which is an awesome bookstore in Dumbo, Brooklyn. So we're gonna talk to him about how he decided to write this book and what he feels, how he came to identify as bisexual, what it means to him. Let's go talk to Vivek. So She of the Mountains. This just came out.
Yes.
Can you tell us about it? Let's start there.
I wanted to make some kind of art that would challenge biphobia. For most of my life, I feel like I've heard two messages predominantly, and one was that I'm a girly boy, and two, that as a girly boy, I couldn't possibly be attracted to other women. And the impact of both of those messages and the way they connect with each other, it's meant always overthinking my desire for people, questioning my desire for people, feeling shame. And so the idea was to write a love story.
Is this a personal story? Does this come from your own experience?
Yeah, so this book is largely based on my own experience. I was in a relationship for 10 years with a woman, and it was one of, she's one of the loves of my life, I adore her. And yet, kind of like in the book, there were these variety of scenarios where I'd be out with my friends, with a female partner at a gay bar, and people would go up to my friends and be like, he's gay, right?
I've had plenty of experiences where I'll walk into a gay bar with my female partner, and because of the way that I present and the way that I look, I've had people say, she's straight.
Exactly.
Right? She's not gonna stay with you. She's wearing earrings.
And what's been interesting for me too is that in some ways I found more support from straight individuals, especially straight cis men, because, of course you'd like women. Right? That's what's really interesting, right? Is that when I started, having relationships with women, I was getting flack from the queer communities, but not so much from straight communities.
I think that's what it is.
Totally.
So many of the queer people you were talking to were like, how? I don't feel like that, so how could you possibly feel like that?
And the thing that I find so frustrating is that most of us people in the LGBTQ community have experienced policing, right, in some kind of way in our adolescence, and yet then we enforce that on other people.
How do you feel being seen as a bisexual male? Do you feel like there's a difference?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been thinking so much about this, about how my experience of biphobia intersects with me being perceived as male and me being a person of color. It's been really interesting to find misogyny sort of at the root of that, because so much of the biphobia that I've experienced has been from gay men. And I think that in some ways where that's coming from is you couldn't possibly desire a woman. Ugh, and all this sort of thing, right? Again, going back to what I was saying earlier, my experience with, the way my gender played out as a child and being told I was gay, that was about misogyny too. Whereas like in North America, there's nothing worse than for a boy to act like a girl. And then as a bi person of color, when oppressions intersect, inevitably the experience is deeper.
And I think people just get very afraid that we're going to undermine the politic or something by not fitting into the box.
Totally. I mean, I can't tell you how many times someone sat me down and was like, listen, when I was first coming out, I dated a girl, you know, or I had sex with a girl, but as soon as I had sex with her, like, I just knew. And once you have sex with a man, like, it's gonna make sense. And the thing is, I did have sex with men, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, I kept waiting for that, you know, I talk about this in the book too, like, the character keeps waiting for that eureka moment, like, yes, I am free. But like, I never felt that way. I never felt like my attraction for women was less than. It was just different. It was a different kind of desire, and I liked both.
Let's talk about the word bisexual. It's kind of a contentious thing for the community at large, I think. Some people feel that it hinges on the binary, and so are moving to terms like pansexual. Some people feel like it's excluding trans identities. Other people don't feel that way at all and talk about bisexual as a self-other means of identifying. So for you, how does the term fit? How do you work with it?
I do all kinds of anti-homophobia, anti-transphobia, anti-biphobia training in the college I work at. And anytime there's resistance to language, I find that it's usually rooted in a form of phobia. I've really struggled with the word bisexual because of biphobia. And so for me, it's meant really trying to own that word and understanding that a lot of my discomfort with that word is because of the stigma around it. I mean, I love the word queer, and I have found freedom in the word queer, but, you know, a big part of this chapter of my life is also has been about trying to understand why bisexual has made me uncomfortable as an identity, and really trying to step into it and own it, because I am bisexual.
Thank you so much for watching. A huge thanks to Vivek Shraya for being with us and sharing his story. Also, a big thanks to Powerhouse Arena in Dumbo. We apologize if there was a little bit of background noise. They are a very busy place for very good reason. I like your dog shirt.
Thank you. I like your pyramids.
Thank you. I almost wore my dog shirt, but I thought it would be too much.
I think you should have.
Yeah?
You'll look back on this
Next
moment.
episode, our follow-up episode.
Yes.
Revenge of the Bisexuals.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's our time.
Good? All right. Hey, welcome to Greenwich Village. As you all know, it is Pride Month, and this is the birthplace of Pride right here. As you probably also know, the Stonewall Riots happened in 1969, but the actual birthplace of the gay rights movement was at Julius Bar with the sip-in 1966. And so we're going to head around the corner to Julius's, and we're going to talk to Tom, who is the unofficial historian of that bar, and who's also been in this neighborhood since 1971. We're at a bar pretty early.
Yes, indeed.
For me anyways.
Yeah,
pretty
for me
early
too
for
as
you.
well, yes. Yeah. My name is Tom Bernardin. If I were asked one word to describe Julius, which is not an easy thing, it would be, I guess, companionship.
How do you identify?
Just a gay man, just the number 10 on the scale. I thank the powers that be every day that I was born a gay man. Makes life a lot more interesting.
And so what was the first time that you came to Julius?
I'm going to guess, say, 1974, 75. And it was very crowded, very cruisy. You know, I'd be flirting with 3 different guys, you know, at any given time. This is our history right here. Over at the corner is where Fred McDarrah took this great shot with that dramatic hand gesture. The story you need to hear is, of course, the sip-in. April 26, 1966. Harry Hay gets a group of men together to fight for gay rights. There's a regulation, the State Liquor Authority. You cannot serve homosexuals alcohol because they are disorderly, okay? Homosexuals couldn't stand with the back to the bar because I'd be trying to pick somebody up. So you had to stand facing the bar. They want to challenge this regulation. They're 24, 25 years old. I didn't have the nerve, you know, to do that when I was their age. It took me a very long time to get comfortable with myself. Sex wasn't discussed in our family whatsoever. let alone homosexuals. So they write a letter, we are orderly, we are homosexual, and we want alcohol. And they alert the media, including Fred McDarrah, the photographer of the Village Voice, who took this famous sip-in shot. This was raided a week earlier. There's a sign on the window that says, "This is a disorderly establishment." So they're on their best behavior.
Right.
So they come in here, "We would like to be served alcohol, we are homosexual." And the bartender very dramatically goes, "I cannot serve you."
Do we look like the photo looked? I'm an orderly homosexual and I would like to have a drink, please.
Sorry, can't do that.
They go to the Human Rights Commission. "We need your help. We're going to sue the State Liquor Authority," and they dropped it.
The courage that it took to come into a bar with cameras and say that.
Yeah, and Stonewall happens, and bang, then that's the pivoting point. All these various characters. I mean, let's, Judy and Liza, hello. You think you're in a gay bar? You asked me to bring in some memorabilia, and the best I can do is bring you a tiny portion of some of the photos that I started to take, mostly outside, but some of them in here. I've got a huge stack in no particular order. This is my Nicholas, Nicky Dimples.
I see where he gets that.
Yeah, he's a doll. He was a cook here, and then he graduated to bartender. Spent a whole lot of time here with some terrific people, creating a lot of memories, sharing stories, taking care of each other, and these beauties. I asked them, "Come on," I said, "Give me some sass." Yeah. And she sure did. You're getting your picture taken, whether you like it or not. Just click away.
Okay, ready?
Ready.
And I'm very proud of some of the accomplishments that I've done here, including the fundraising for the lamppost, dedicated in memory of our departed friends. But you can see it's dedicated Gay Pride, June 2005. So this is its 10th anniversary. Just a little something to let people know that the people at Julius's care about what's going on in the world.
One of the reasons I'm so happy to sit and talk with you is that I think that there are some people in my generation and in a generation below me who do understand where the parade originates.
Right.
But I think that a lot of us don't understand, that it's just like this amazing time when we all get together and we have a parade and a party, which is wonderful for a lot of reasons, but I think that it's really important to remember the roots of it all.
Do you remember your first Pride parade?
Yeah, that would be, and I was working at a great disco, the much beloved Barefoot Boy, 39th Street and 2nd Avenue. So we had a little sign, Barefoot Boy, and we all, paraded up 6th Avenue. I feel I've been at the right place at the right time to bring a certain level of enthusiasm to making sure that this place stays open as a gay men's bar. If I weren't a gay man, I would be white, college-educated, middle class, and how hard that would be. We're still outsiders, and I like that a lot. That's why I like to see younger people coming here and passing the word that this place is really important. Don't take it for granted. Show up here. Come in and get a burger. Spend your money here, because that's the way it's going to be preserved. The fact that I can be part of this minority is really a blessing.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
Both here with us and also here in this community.
Thank you. That's
Come
nice.
if you're in the city, support Julius's. You see what a historic place it is and how much it means.
Hey, we are here in Snug Harbor, Staten Island at Staten Island Pride, and we're going to be talking to Tyler Ford, who's a writer, an activist, and a performer, and who's headlining at Staten Island Pride today. We're going to be talking to Tyler about their activism as well as non-binary gender identities.
My name is Tyler Ford, and I am agender and queer.
Tyler is most passionate about inspiring others to become the best possible versions of themselves. Please welcome to the stage the remarkable Tyler Ford.
You are in the public eye. You write poetry. You're doing writing for MTV. You just did a photo shoot with Happy Hippie Foundation.
The shoot was amazing. Miley made me super, super comfortable. Because I didn't have any role models growing up, it is important for me to be out there so that other like young people can see, oh, this person is doing this, I can totally do this too. Like, why not me?
So this poem of mine is called Too Much. Do you remember the first time you were called annoying? How your breath stopped short in your chest? The way the light drained from your eyes, though you knew your cheeks were ablaze?
So have you had feedback from people who are reading your work?
Someone sent me a Tumblr message like a few months ago that was like, your poetry is like putting on a warm jacket like on a cold night. And I was like, thank you, that's so nice.
Oh, it's so much quieter over here. Something that I want to talk to you about is a thing that I've been thinking about a bunch, which is we've been seeing more trans representation, I think, in mass media. You know, shows like Transparent and Caitlyn Jenner coming out, but a lot of that has really hinged on the binary. So I wonder, as somebody who identifies as agender, as transgender, how that's been feeling for you.
As a young trans person, growing up without representation, I came out as a trans guy because I didn't know of any other alternative. I didn't know that non-binary people existed. And so I was like, well, I'm not a girl, then I must be a boy, and like, here I go, I'm a boy now. The more non-binary people that come out in the media, or the more non-binary people that are represented, the easier it is for us to exist. And I think it's really important that people start talking about gender in ways that it is not being talked about or that it hasn't traditionally been talked about.
You're 20 now, and I still see the light fade from your eyes when you talk about your interests for too long. Apologies littering every other sentence. Words trailing off a cliff you haven't jumped from in 7 years.
When you sort of became more aware of non-binary identities, and I don't know, I imagine something kind of clicked or made a lot of sense to you. How was that for you? Was that like a scary process?
Oh, it was terrifying. I like wasn't happy with the way I was being perceived, and I wasn't happy with my body, and I wasn't happy with testosterone. And so eventually, at my 2-year mark, I stopped testosterone. Then I was just like, all right, what do I do now? So I like started experimenting with makeup, and like the day I went off of testosterone, I like waxed my own back.
First of all, how?
A lot of reaching. As I had come out over and over again, one of my main concerns was, you know, not being believed. It took about like 6 to 8 months for me to be like, all right, these are my pronouns. I like was like searching Tumblr and searching the internet, trying to find anyone who like had like gone from identifying as a trans guy to identifying as a non-binary person. I didn't know like what my body was gonna look like. I didn't know like how I was gonna feel. So I was just sort of like, well, I'm doing it. To this day, people are like, oh, your pronouns are so hard and I can't use them, and I just forget sometimes. But I do have a lot of friends who like will talk to those other friends and be like, look, they, them, there, it's not that hard, like just use the pronouns.
I imagine that there's something about asking people to change pronouns and then asking people to change pronouns again that like feels like an even heavier burden to carry.
Yeah.
Which is like on us and shouldn't be on you,
Yeah.
you know?
Anytime someone asks me like what my coming out story is, you know, I tell them that I'm still coming out. I'm coming out every day. I come out every time I have to correct someone on my pronouns, every time I introduce myself to someone.
I think that a lot of people are like, oh, okay, I understand. You were assigned female at birth and now you're a boy. Like,
Yeah.
I get this and I get that. Even from within queer and trans communities, people expect you to kind of like know who you are and then stay there.
Yeah. I feel like for me, existing is a form of resistance and existing is a form of activism. It's important for me to be who I am, to have the space to be who I am, to make the space to be who I am, and to create space for everyone else to be exactly who they are.
I could listen to you forever, though I know speaking for more than 3 uninterrupted minutes makes you anxious. All I want you to know is that you deserve to be heard for 3 minutes, for 10 minutes, for 2 hours, forever.
Oh my gosh, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. This episode really happened because so many of you asked for an episode where we talked to someone about non-binary gender identity. Do you have any last words for the public?
Oh gosh, see you soon. I don't know.
Welcome to another episode of First Person. Today we are talking to Kara Krecha, and the topic is asexuality, and I'm super excited about this episode because it is probably the most requested episode from all of you. So we're going to head to Kara's apartment, and then we're going to have a picnic at the park, and we're going to ask her all about what it means to her to identify as asexual. So I think it's time for a picnic. Let's go. We have carrots and hummus and crackers, and we're gonna have a picnic in the place that you do a lot of your writing.
I'm Kara Krecha. I'm going to be starting a master's in library science so that I can become a librarian. In the meantime, I'm a barista.
You've written for my organization, Everyone is Gay.
Yes.
But can you tell me what other kind of writing that you do?
So I just graduated from college, and there I was doing this really long-term project about asexuality and Sherlock fan fiction. I am gray ace, non-binary, and queer. I prefer ace because I think it sounds less clinical. And
Plus,
also,
like ace.
Yeah.
You going this way?
Yeah.
Look at those crazy sculptures. Where to have a picnic? Soda. Oh my god, I'm so hungry. How do you identify specifically?
So I identify as gray ace.
Okay.
Which is kind of under the ace umbrella. Asexual or ace is a person who does not experience sexual attraction. A person who identifies as gray ace is somebody who's like somewhere between like asexual and allosexual, which is like the opposite of asexual. There are lots of ways that you could be gray ace, experiencing like low sexual attraction, only experiencing sexual attraction in specific circumstances, or like not really understanding like what sexual attraction is, being unsure about it. And then there's within gray ace like another identity called demisexual, and that's a person who only experiences sexual attraction in the context of like a close emotional bond. So it took me a really long time to like claim asexuality as like an identity for myself. If somebody said to me, asexuality is just celibacy, I would say, well, no, because asexuality is about attraction and not action. A person who doesn't experience sexual attraction is asexual. A person who doesn't have sex is celibate.
What are your thoughts on how asexuality aligns with like queer and trans communities?
I do kind of see asexuality as like a non-binary sexuality. There's a spectrum of like gay, bisexual, straight. Asexuality is somewhere off over here in a way that I think is pretty queer.
In the sense that the world is telling you that the normal thing is to want to have sex, and in that sense you are queer. Have you gotten a lot of pushback against your identity?
Yeah, it's hard to like break through to people who have an idea of what queerness is. There are all these terms I have to define before like even having a conversation.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people feel like you feel because this episode was the most requested epised. I mean, you know, every time we asked, like, what needs more exposure? Who do you want to hear from? People were like, asexuality. I want to have a picnic every episode. Does anybody want a cookie?
The stereotypes about asexuality is that aces are boring or childish, which I really hate, where it's like you can't be an adult if you're not like having sexual relationships. You're stunted in some way, like socially or developmentally.
Why do you think that asexuals aren't being seen more?
I think it's a hard thing to represent. That's why I ended up studying fan fiction, because that was a medium in which exploring sexuality is a norm. Fan fiction authors are exploring like intimacy that like isn't portrayed on screen because it's boring, but like really intense fans don't think it is.
Right. But like, how interesting would it be to have a representation of a couple where one of the people is asexual and they're having that dialogue and like exploring that, and you see the nuances of what that means?
Exactly. No, I think it can be interesting, and I think the most interesting stories are about characters that defy your expectations. I first found Sherlock fan fiction right when Series 3 was coming out, and something in my brain said, you know, I bet there's fan fiction of this, and let me tell you, there was. I know that I've like made friendships and like relationships through this project, through fan fiction, that have helped me.
Take your time, chew your pepperoni. I mean, I want you to enjoy the picnic, you know? I'll take this opportunity to open my soda. I figure if I make the joke enough, they'll have to put it in.
Yeah.
I think that the visibility of the asexual community is growing. Certainly it isn't where I think either of us would want it to be, but
it's being spoken about more.
I also think it's a matter of like sex education. When I was a teenager, I did not have the resources to like have a conversation. Like you said in like the Cliteracy video where it's just like put a condom.
Right, put a condom on
Insert penis
Yeah.
into vagina. Like that's how sex works, and that's all the information you get. Consent needs to be like a big part of sex education, and that's a place where you can put in like some people don't want to have sex at all, and that's okay.
Right.
And that like opens up space for like people to write about their experiences or write characters with these experiences.
Well, and it opens up space for you to exist too.
Yeah.
It's like, and for like me to understand you as a person with an identity. It's like if I was in school and they were like, and this is a feeling you might have, and some people don't have those feelings, and I would have spent a lot of my life understanding people very differently.
Exactly.
That is not how it was communicated.
No, the act of like portraying characters as asexual is bringing people together on the internet in a way that is forming communities and like helping people form identities. There's the cliche, you know, like be the writer you needed when you were a kid, and like I kind of feel like that's what I'm doing.
Thank you so much for being here and having a picnic with me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. You should all check out more of Kara's writing and everything that she's doing. It's totally awesome. Thank you guys. See you next week.
Bye.